Okay, you're on.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome wherever you are in the world. We're so glad you're here at VCUP 13. I'm Gabrielle Lamont. I'm a climate healer. And today we have, at this hour, we have on Sue Spar. She has been defending animals, the natural world, and vulnerable humans as far back as she can remember. And Ray, we can see your head. With her activism commencing as a tiny child protecting insects. She became a dedicated animal activist at the age of 14 after learning dissection was a thing, resulting in a confrontation with her biology teacher. Longing for the safety of all animals, she has whispered the same wish for well over 50 years on birthday candles and shooting stars and even turkey wishbones once upon a time, that people stop hurting animals. Those same turkey wishbones symbolize the casual speciesism so prevalent in our society. To highlight and offset this, her dream child, Wishbone Animal Rights Lab, was born with its meeting and office space, resource center, equipment lending library, recording studios, training sessions, and online open source resources, all freely available to animal and planet activists. She has called herself a mad scientist as well. So take it away, Sue Spar.
Hello, thank you so much, Gabrielle, for your lovely warm greeting. And our sincere gratitude and appreciation to climate healers and our beloved Sailesh Rao for hosting this very important conference and for inviting us to speak about Wishbone Animal Rights Lab, which is part of the Wishbone Project. Just so you know, I'm extremely nervous, so I expect the next 45 minutes or so to be pretty agonizing, but we'll get through this. First off, I would like to introduce you to my co-host and our ambassador of anti-speciesism, Vish. He won't be saying much, if anything, today, but he's here as moral support, and just because he's so darn cute as I can be. I'll be explaining more about his role at Wishbone later on in the presentation. And of course, I suppose this lady doesn't need an introduction. She's already celebrated in your circles. Kelly Kerr is here as well. And she's one of my fellow Wishbone core volunteer team members. So Vish, you just sit over here for a minute then. As mentioned, I am a lifelong devotee to animals, and I started sticking up for them as a toddler. I grew up in a rural area surrounded by animal agriculture, make ranches, puppy mills, hunters, etc. So for a kid like me, it was pretty difficult. It was pre-internet based, but after finding out about dissection at age 14, I started researching and learned that animal exploitation was systemic. So there was the fur trade, the bear bile industry, vivisection, the list goes on. The catalyst for me was seeing the Animals film in January 1986, and I became a hardcore activist for animals and the planet. And to be honest, I've always felt sorry for any underdog. So you can also find me sometimes buying bruised pieces of fruit and dented cans of beans. So welcome to Wishbone. To get started, the lab is part of a 3-phase initiative known as the Wishbone Project. It's everything from a physical space for learning and where activists' creative juices, collaboration, planning, and production ideas can flow freely, to trainings, workshops, and valuable open source resources to expand skills and knowledge, to bringing vegans' artistic and business creations directly to the general public, right through to one day, a public welcoming edutainment or vegutainment complex using entertainment, relatability, and creativity as the spoonsful of sugar to help the tough issues that face animals and our planet go down. The animal rights movement has finally achieved some movement. Vegans and animal rights activists are no longer just on society's fringe. We're everywhere and from every walk of life. So the Wishbone Project is a game changer vehicle that makes it easier for activists to fight for animals and to stand up for our planet and to pierce the vegan bubble with a secret sauce ingredient of collaboration, not competition. It's working towards its vision of a plant-based and cell-cultured food system being embraced as the new normal, veganism established as the default position, systemic speciesism dismantled, society recognizing the vital importance of all species, our interconnection, our shared ecosystem, and justice for all life, and to have public opinion shifted against animal and planet exploitative industries. So, the new normal. The Wishbone Animal Rights Lab is, to say it in a fancy way, a creativity incubator designed to spark, generate, facilitate, and disseminate innovative activism that is much needed in the animal advocacy movement. Overall, we have a bold plan to create a groundswell to present a united but diverse front and to saturate the airwaves, print waves, and streets with an abundance and wide variety of clever, well-crafted, relatable, pro-vegan, and anti-speciesist content that engages and resonates with a wide swath of the population. We want to make sure that society hears both sides of the story so they can make a more informed decision. We want to recapture and rekindle our innocence and the love and empathy we felt for animals as children, and to bring that love and those wishes for the greater good into action. So by providing change makers the tools they need and eliminating obstacles such as lack of funds and limited or no access to workspace and equipment to allow their creative juices to flow freely, and whenever inspiration strikes, allows activists and artists to work more smartivist. The lab itself is located here in downtown Toronto at 600 Bay Street. It's just a block from the famous Eaton Centre, and it's in the same area as the city's financial district in what is historically known as the McKnight Building. And there it is up there on the screen. 600 Bay will be celebrating its 100th birthday in a couple of years, and it's one of the last addresses in the city of Toronto requiring the engagement of an elevator operator for its vintage lift. We celebrated our launch on March 4th, which was the day after a storm dropped a foot of snow overnight in the province of Ontario. Yet we still had over 100 visitors coming from as far as 120 kilometers away. And I realized that I was using both the metric system and imperial. So I'm a child of the 70s for sure.
I do the same all the time.
So here's a little glimpse into that special day that we had. I have been wishing for well over 50 years. I guess I'm giving away my age. The lab officially opened for business on March 19th. We are completely volunteer staffed, fully operational, and open Thursday through Sunday at this time. So, but a total of 40 hours per week with extended hours cheerfully available upon request. With the necessary funding in place, the goal is to open 7 days per week and to offer resources and support to facilitate dozens of projects per month, and to also commence work on phase 3, which I'll go into a bit later on. The reaction to the lab has been overwhelmingly positive. We've always had a very thriving, robust animal rights scene here in Toronto, so that didn't really surprise me. But since November of 2022, with our doors not even officially opening until 4 months later, the space has been bustling with community building events, strategy meetings, practice sessions before demos.
And we were written in 3 newspapers.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's right. Yes, we got lots of coverage. The Toronto location will serve as a fully scalable pilot project that with some tweaking and customization, it can be replicated and rolled out in communities locally and globally, both large and small. And along with the complimentary open source resources on our website, the ideas of vegans and activists anywhere can come to life. Encouragingly, we've already had interest from several people in other communities about opening their own animal rights center. So why Wishbone is needed. As far as social justice movements go, animal rights is sort of the new kid on the block. So gaining wide support for veganism and animal rights, which is absolutely critical to the survival of all living beings and the future of our planet, is a challenge. Vegans and animal defenders are generally not taken seriously by government, the education system, healthcare industry, corporations, mainstream media, and the general public. Our community appears small, divided, and splintered, and animal and planet issues rarely make the cut to get any sort of coverage, let alone grab the headlines. But we did get the headline. Well, maybe not a headline.
We did, and we were on, was it Live Kindly or One Green Planet? They
Oh,
wrote
yes.
about us too.
Yeah, One Green Planet.
Yeah,
That was personally
Yeah.
very exciting.
It was
for me.
great. And there was a lot of comments as well in the comment section of when we were written locally. So
Ooh,
it was good.
I didn't even know
Even if
that.
it was bad,
Oh,
all bad's
okay.
good for us.
All right. Glad I didn't see it. So that leaves the majority of the population in a state of cognitive dissonance, willful ignorance, and solution aversion to the horrors and indignities being inflicted upon trillions of non-human animals every year, and havoc being wreaked upon the earth. We live in an indoctrinated speciesist world where people truly believe they care about animals, but often resist change because most of us take part in the very systems that promote the suffering of other animals. So activists also find themselves up against dwindling attention spans, an alarming consumption of myths and disinformation, the sophisticated and well-funded lobbying efforts of animal exploitative industries, and people's desire to fit in and be seen as normal, resulting in their reluctance to go against the grain. I've been very thankful that I've always been somebody who was wired to go against the grain, and it never bothered me to feel outside the clique.
Yeah.
Were you that kind of kid?
I knew I wanted to be. I just didn't know what it was. I always looked at Greenpeace and thought, like, I want to be an activist when I'm whatever age. I thought you become an activist then.
Yeah.
And then I didn't. And it wasn't until animal rights I was like, this is my place. This is my
felt right.
community.
Yeah. So it is imperative that we come together and strengthen our community, sharpen our skills, vary our approach, tap into our ingenuity, and to stand out in order to pierce the vegan bubble. So art, creativity, and repetition are proven to be highly effective in breaking through and influencing society's acceptance of new ideas. Art is a key component in confronting and reimagining social narratives, and it plays a huge role in successful social justice movements. We have no lack of talent and ideas in the animal protection movement, but what often is lacking is time, money, and know-how. These are all common barriers that often lead to demotivation and creativity roadblocks in advocates. So with its inclusive space, equipment, literature, and training, all free for animal rights related pursuits, Wishbone will bridge the gap between bright lights in the animal liberation movement wanting to undertake something impactful into actually doing it. It's crucial that we have a space we can call our own, where others speak the vegan language, where we can get together and collaborate, where passion and compassion can flourish. And we can focus on what we agree on, which is animals and not the things that divide us, as is human nature, right? Mm-hmm. Amp up our activism, further our mission through community and teamwork, empower individuals, give ourselves the edge over our non-vegan counterparts, get the public on board, and appreciably move the needle for animals in the earth and achieve that fundamental system change we need so badly. It's a place, Wishbone, where activists can draw upon each other's strengths, share their skills, support one another, collaborate, bounce ideas off another, and having such a passionate and compassionate group of people exuding creative energy under one roof is key in building a sense of community amongst activists. And then with the fruits of their labors being projected out to the masses, this is bound to change hearts and minds. It will also result in a tighter knit vegan and animal rights community, significantly more and better creative content being produced, a marked increase in street actions and other initiatives, and veganism becoming increasingly legitimized and normalized. This initiative will nurture the artistic talents and brilliant ideas of animal advocates, resulting in, again, well-trained, better equipped, engaged animal protectionists, which leads to more vegans being created. So why the name Wishbone? As you can imagine, we do get asked that quite a bit, and a number of reasons led to the decision. As mentioned in the intro, as a child, I wished for the safety of all animals, not only on birthday candles and shooting stars, but many times on a turkey wishbone, as I think many of us have. Well, maybe they weren't wishing for animal protection on a turkey wishbone, but so that holds a lot of personal meaning for me. And then using an obviously animal exploitative name, the body part of a tortured being, and practice, snapping their bone, is meant to symbolize and highlight the casual speciesism and cognitive dissonance that's so prevalent in our society. And just like the theme of this VCOP, we are bursting through the dam of denial. It's also a means to capture the attention of non-vegans, to hopefully give them pause for thought and even spark discussion of these concepts. Some organizations never get asked about their name, so they have zero conversations about it, but we're glad to have the discussion. Well, sometimes we opened up again and again, as it's an opportunity to raise awareness. And quite frankly, having a unique and perhaps controversial name helps us stand out from the crowd. And you know what? It's okay to feel uncomfortable about the name. In fact, we should. So, as promised, I'm going to talk about our wonderful Vish. Our relationship with animals is broken, and having Vish, who is a wishbone, as our ambassador of anti-speciesism, demonstrates that seemingly common and benign actions like making a wish on a turkey wishbone has very serious consequences for animals. Do you want to hold Vish?
Yeah, and I just wanted to quickly mention, like, when we were coming up with the logo, and you had the original logo, and then we were like, okay, what about, like, what do we want to do with Vish?
Yeah.
And Vish just came. We were like, okay, it's a wishbone. How do we make this vegan? And then I remember Ray saying, or I think one of us was just like, why don't we like have
originally
the thing
we were
growing out?
have...
And we were literally just doing it on the computer, the three of us.
Yeah.
And Ray's like, how about this? Blah, 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 blah. And he did it. And we're like, that's perfect. And there's Vish. That's how Vish was born.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
So yeah, in spite of something so horrible happening to him, look what's growing out of his broken bone. Bright green hope. So seeds get planted even inside Vish's clavicle, which I learned that's a clavicle in creating Vish, such that the people snapping wishbones one day may go vegan the next. And people do tend to relax their defenses and become more receptive when uncomfortable truths are delivered with humor, or they come from the mouth of a cartoon voice being. We haven't heard Vish's voice yet, but you will. We have a lot of fun with clever wordplay with him. And even though he is sometimes sassy and naughty, his cuteness does allow him to get away with it. But it's much more compelling to hear it from Vish, who, by the way, is very much looking forward to meeting Vega the cow and her friends.
Yeah.
Now, I sometimes call her Vega, but I know that that's probably not right.
Is it Vega?
And so, without further ado, here's our little guy, Vish. Anyway, well, you can probably, we're just having a little technical issue, but if you want to tell us a little bit about Vega, maybe. Oh, here we go.
Oh, there we go.
Hello, I'm Fish, and I live at Wishbone Animal Rights Lab. But before moving here, I was a bone living inside of a turkey. Yeah, I am a furcula, which is actually two clavicles joined in the middle by the sternum. My job is to help birds to fly. You know what else a furcula is? A wishbone. That leads to the story behind the name of the lab. One of the founders, ever since she was a little girl, has been wishing on birthday candles and shooting stars that people stop hurting animals. That's so sweet. But here's the weird and sinister part. I wish that people would stop hurting animals. Talk about a disconnect. So, thanks to things like willful ignorance, cognitive dissonance, and indoctrination through rituals, traditions, and habits, even people who love animals eat them and engage in other forms of casual speciesism. You might have noticed that one of my clavicles is broken, but see what's popping out of it? Bright green hope. Seeds get planted, and then something good can grow from them. So even the people who are snapping wishbones one day may go vegan the next. But animals on our planet can't simply depend on wishes to get the protections and rights they need to thrive and be kept safe from harm and exploitation. Activists need to work really hard to get our society on board. And Wishbone Animal Rights Lab, with its collaborative space, recording facilities, workshops, and much, much more, is going to smooth the way to make that a whole lot easier. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't still make wishes, just not on a furcula. Please check us out on the socials at Wishbone AR Lab. And to meet me in person or schedule time at the space, visit us at wishbonearlab.ca. Let's work together to make veganism the new normal.
Well, full disclosure, that sign is not real. We would love to have that at the corner of Bay and Dundas yet. But anyway.
Well, it is. It's just on a
It's Photoshop.
piece of paper right now.
Yeah, that's right. It's
Not
all
full
up
size.
here. It's all up here. So that video does give a good overview of Wishbone Animal Rights Lab, but it really is just phase one of the 3-phase initiative. So let's get physical. As I said, the phase one component is composed of Wishbone Animal Rights Lab, which is a dedicated bricks and mortar location, humming with creative energy, talent, and industriousness, along with the necessary equipment, materials, and training to execute great ideas. We pack a lot into our 420 square foot space. And after lots of renovations, we now have our welcoming reception area with a TV looping upcoming events, unchained TV programs, news happening in the movement, etc. And as you glance around the lab, you might notice that lime green is my favorite color. In fact, my little binder thing here is lime green. And we also have office space with a view. 2 of our desks overlook the hustle and bustle of the intersection at the corner of Bay and Dundas. That plant, that is Margot and Pia are those plants' names because they were donated by 2 activists in our community. A corner is also dedicated to a small workstation equipped with a computer and all-in-one printer, which is just right over there, but it's nothing fancy. But it's functional. That's what matters. A resource center contains about 400 books, most of which are available for sign out, but some for in-lab viewing only. And the resource center boasts some rare book titles. Oh, sorry, that had some sound on it, I think, but some rare book titles from the 80s. There are vintage and current day posters, pamphlets, and stickers, as well as a number of historical articles. And these were all made possible by donations and heavily discounted purchases from VegTO, which is the former Toronto Vegetarian Association. We got a treasure trove of materials from an old school activist named Kath Enns, and then goodies from my own private collection or personal collection started back in the mid-80s. There's also an inviting lounge area for meetings, photo shoots, jam sessions, et cetera, et cetera. I'm particularly looking forward to screenings of The Land of Ahimsa and Moby's Punk Rock Vegan here in the near future. Wishbone is also home, headquarters, or satellite office to a growing number of grassroots organizations. Plant-Based World Media, Plant-Based Revolution, Vegan D&D, supporting our sanctuaries, Toronto Anti-Vivisection Alliance, Animal Rights Community Conference, Fur Free Toronto, Compassion on the Streets, Eating Animals Causes Pandemics, Vegans for Life, and One Health. So I gave everybody a shout out there. So, and then adorning the perimeter, we have the logos and of several animal advocacy organizations, as well as paintings, drawings, photographs, digital creations. We have a gorgeous chalk piece in the works by local artist Tim Theodore, and art installations from a variety of artists and photographers. Hello. Either donated or from my personal collection. And shown here on the screen, some clever, colorful, thought-provoking digital art by Melinda Hegedus. And it's displayed on 3 sides of our focal lime green wall. These poor photos don't really capture how vibrant and impactful her work is, but there they are. We also have 3 professionally equipped recording, production, and broadcasting studio sets, one of which I'm sitting in. So I'll give Alec a break and not make him put up a photo. The other 2 are a soundproof podcast room, meeting room, editing suite, and equipment storage. There's our little podcast area. And we also have a kitchen studio, which Kelly's very excited about. However, it's currently in its chrysalis form. So we'll do the big reveal another time, but it's waiting patiently to be turned into the backdrop for recording a cooking demo or show, hint, hint, doing recipe trials and preparing food for distribution to shelters and the homeless. And we think it's going to be a great place to whip up a big old pot of Unity stew or Unity chili, something like that.
Definitely.
So these ever evolving studios are designed to provide an optimal environment for, oh my God, I've got a long list here, but podcasters, voiceover artists, photographers, musicians, the list just goes on and on. So also to spark and facilitate innovative and effective street activism, we have an ever-growing equipment lending library from which activists can sign out all sorts of gear. For example, we had an anti-vivisection march held last weekend by a local group, Toronto Anti-Vivisection Alliance, and they borrowed, the organizers borrowed 3 of our megaphones. We have microphones, speakers, lasers, a film projector, you name it. And each piece of equipment is cataloged. We document from whom it came, if it was donated, and each item is labeled with their own special name, usually selected by the donor. So not only does that better help us to keep better track of the gear, but it's a unique, fun, and memorable way of thanking people for their contribution. And we hope it encourages activists to take better care of the item if there's a name on it. So here, as an example, I want you to please meet Agnes and Jeter and Penny. So these were, one of them was named by me, Jeter. So through Wishbone, not only are we eliminating the barriers of lack of funds, space, equipment, and know-how for animal and planet advocates to breathe life into their own ideas, we're also creating our own in-house content with work commencing on podcasts, online games, talk shows, shareable databases, coming up with ideas for full-blown campaigns, etc. So these are some of the campaigns and ideas we've worked on in the past. We are incubating a little startup company. Kelly might know something about this. and vegan D&D, and eating animals causes pandemics. It was a successful campaign that had participants from all over the planet, and we packaged it up into a template, so it containing audio and graphics, you name it, everything's there. So somebody can just take it, open it up, and there's your campaign right there. And VED Talks, it's a speaker series, much like the familiar, you know what, I don't think I'm allowed to say the real name, but with a bright green vegan twist, and along with a vegan market as well. And then the other one, Calling All Vegans. We have more, but I just wanted to display these four. It was started in April of 2018, and it's one of the podcasts we'll be producing. And that show has interviewed well over 250 people. Sailesh Rao being on more than once, and the delightful little Kamaya. And along with providing a venue and supports for activists to hold their own animal or enviro related seminars, we're also generating our own impactful, much needed programming. This will be done through recorded workshops, training sessions, etc., both online and in person, and it will be led by knowledgeable individuals, experts, and influencers. And what we want to do is inspire creativity in different mediums, and to teach critical skills like grant writing, practical skills, video editing, social media tips, writing successful letters to the editor and op-eds, public speaking, piercing mainstream media, the power of humor, etc. Here at the lab, we're able to comfortably accommodate about 30 visitors at once, but we've certainly had more than that milling around at any given time. Yep. The phase 2 portion of the Wishbone Project gives activists both in person and online unlimited access to vital strategic and technical know-how, valuable open source resources, and other essential value-added supports. They're designed to break us out of the vegan echo chamber and to successfully catapult the animals agenda into the mainstream, allowing us to compete with the non-vegan message and to snap society out of their indoctrinated trance. So through educational content, savvy targeted campaigns, and collaborative initiatives. So that way we're not just placing artivists and activists on a level playing field, we're giving them the edge so they can blow past their non-vegan counterparts. Some of what our website will contain is a large and varied bank of shareable, vetted campaign ideas, materials, and strategies, and they'll all be packaged up in ready-to-use templates. Open source lists and databases, Wishbone produced creative content, video recordings of workshops and speakers held through the lab, a wide range of relevant how-to guides, and we'll be showcasing vegan content creators and businesses. As well, a service we intend to provide is content and goods distribution and targeted brokering, which might appeal to Ms. Kelly for one, where we will connect vegans and their content and creations with those who seek or require it. So such as the placement of comic strips in newspapers, art into galleries, distributing press kits for documentarians, getting scripts with vegan themes and characters in front of producers, and also promoting the work and services of vegan businesses and up-and-coming musicians, filmmakers, etc. So overall, we're going to hustle hard to ensure that vegan content, goods, and services are better represented and more accessible and inviting to the general population. So the third and final phase, which we haven't done anything about just yet, because we're busy with this. Yeah, this is a big
undertaking.
Yeah,
this is like when the vegan utopia comes.
That's right. Yeah,
we'll
it's
be ready.
arguably the most lofty, and it's definitely a longer time frame and significant funding. But we look forward to commencing it as soon as we can secure the necessary funding and people power. but it's basically a large public welcoming edutainment or vegutainment center where, like Wishbone Animal Rights Lab, veganism is the default, not the option. But it's entertainment is known to make the learning process more fun and engaging, which lowers defenses and leaves individuals more open to the information they're receiving. This is just my way of describing it. I see this facility as being kind of loosely based on the concept of circuses and bread, where visitors to the facility will be satisfied with plant-based food and vegan entertainment, but instead of the ancient original goal of keeping people from getting bored and restless and staging an uprising, we actually want to ignite a spark in them that will lead them to question and push back against the status quo. As well, the creative work of activists can be directly in the public eye rather than languishing in obscurity or within the dreaded vegan bubble. Because people love to be entertained, we will use that to our advantage to educate them on veganism and the issues facing animals and our planet, with the goal of it becoming a go-to destination for tourists, school field trips, and visiting out-of-town animal advocates. So that's a very high level description of it, but we are seeking partners and funding. So if anyone is interested in learning the more granular details around this and reviewing our project overview, please do contact us. So our volunteer team, the core volunteer team, you might recognize a couple of people on that screen, is composed of seasoned animal rights and environmental activists, each of us dedicated to veganism becoming the new normal. And then in alphabetical order, to be fair, as I list us, we are Susan Banks, Alec Bosse, Colleen Burns, Kelly Kerr, Ray Kowalchuk, Sharon Spar, my sister, and me in the middle. I know I put myself in the middle because I had a tall, that wasn't because I thought, no, I wasn't doing it for that reason.
You deserve.
And then helping us out, we do extend our gratitude to Dina Eliaff, Tracy Graham, Michael Sizer, Elvis Steen, Mary Chris Staples, and Karen for help with events, renovations, equipment setup, and staffing the space. And I guess I should thank my daughter and her friend Kate for some of the artwork that they did themselves. I don't eat anything that poops is
definitely.
So each of us on the core team has our own area of responsibility. For example, Alec works on anything maintenance, equipment, or tech related. So anything goes wrong with this broadcast, blame Alec. There he's cackling away in there. So to date, we have welcomed to Wishbone activists. This is a lengthy list, but I'm going to throw these names out there. People representing Save Movement, Plant-Based Treaty, Anonymous for the Voiceless, Direct Action Everywhere, KW Climate Save, Plant-Based Revolution, Vegan D&D, Supporting Our Sanctuaries, VegTO, Toronto Anti-Vivisection Alliance, We the Free, Animal Rights Community Conference, Toronto Climate Save, Fur Free Toronto, Compassion on the Streets, One Health, Eating Animals Causes Pandemics, which is planning a strategic name change actually, and others. And many of these groups are now planning collaborations just from being together in the same space. So that's really encouraging. Here is a small sampling of some of the events held over the past few weeks and a couple that are coming up very soon. The Living Ethically with Dogs, I'm going to have to put on my glasses. I can't read my writing. A community member reached out to us and she wanted to, she works at a large dog shelter, and she requested that we support her with conducting a workshop on helping our canine friends in this human-centric world. And then the next one coming up this Friday, a formerly trained music teacher will be teaching activist techniques on voice projection for use at marches and demos, as well as drumming for keeping that sweet beat while we deliver our chants during a march or even a flash mob maybe. becoming a more effective outreacher. It was a short workshop of proven techniques by skilled animal activists to help those uncomfortable truths about the issues being faced by animals be received in a more welcoming way by the general public. Each week we have salsa lessons. I'm not talking about the delicious condiment. I'm talking about a little cha-cha-cha. So that's a community building exercise we have here. This was from our launch day. And then the two at the bottom, Plant-Based Treaty was here doing a seed packaging event. And this is an up and coming musician who I don't think I'm supposed to give his name. I don't know how that all works. He's a mystery man. He's genderless.
He's
not
cool.
even this person is very cool. Yeah. So we're confident that the provision of this free physical space, resources, equipment, training, and other supports, and the comprehensive website we're building will result in the creation of more activists who are motivated, energized, trained, equipped, again, meaning more vegans are created, that will see a larger, more collaborative, tighter knit animal rights community and more thriving animal protection movement in Toronto and the surrounding area, and wherever else Wishbone centers are located. Expanded skills and knowledge for animal activists provides them an edge, as I mentioned before, by creating and uploading templates of completely vetted initiatives for easy rollout anywhere means that a plethora of innovative, effective, varied vegan content and activism can get out there right to the general public and makes veganism more accessible and normal. And in general, just having an animal rights center located at a busy downtown intersection goes a long way to normalizing veganism to passersby once we get that sign up. Two of the biggest challenges we've faced, of course, are the age-old issues of time and money, meaning we're mainly self-funded and completely volunteer-driven, despite holding down full-time jobs in the real world. But with this project being structured in phases from the physical activist space to an open source and resource heavy website to the public welcoming facility, we can roll it out as funding, time, practicality, and person power allows. The Wishbone Project is for everyone from vegans who are not yet active, and we're attracting them to activism via various presentations and fun events at the center, to animal activists wishing to increase and diversify their activism and expand their knowledge base, to creatives and vegan business owners whose content and goods and services we can help promote, to activists residing in smaller or rural communities, excuse me, whom we can support through our website, and ultimately the general public whom we want to educate and inspire to become vegan. The general public is invited to our events. So many pre-vegans, lapsed animal rights activists, and animal rights curious individuals have visited, and several have said that due to being in such a supportive, welcoming space where vegan is the default, not the option, they want to move towards a plant-based diet, adopt veganism as a lifestyle, dip their toe into activism, or pick up where they left off as an activist. So everyone is welcome. And your little dog too. I'm supposed that was my cue for a picture of a dog to come up on the screen, but that's okay. So as the months go by, we expect to see more of this. We definitely don't see this as a one-off undertaking. We're capturing our steps, mistakes and all. We're tweaking as we go along, and we're producing and packaging up a step-by-step model that will facilitate a Wishbone Center to be set up anywhere without anyone feeling overwhelmed or paralyzed at the prospect. Oh, there's my, and your little dog too. Prospect of starting from scratch. So we want to see such facilities, if not a Wishbone, animal rights centers dotting the planet. So we're going to do the trial and error of ironing out the wrinkles and smoothing the way for others so they don't have to waste precious time and other resources reinventing the wheel. Having these in cities around the world will go a long way in helping to make veganism the default position. this is probably a really awkward segue, but I just had to share it. As Kelly was mentioning, we received quite a bit of coverage. We've been invited for interviews, and we got both local and national media coverage. But I was particularly moved to be given such a beautiful endorsement from social media influencer and our friend, John Oberg, who is not only a force for animals and the planet, but he's truly an authentic, down-to-earth, delightful person. So this is what John had to say.
So I've known Sue Spar for a long time, and I've always been amazed at her level of commitment to the animal protection community, the way that she brings people together, and the way that she does it with such an incredible level of warmth. And for that reason, I'm very excited about the emergence of Wishbone, which is something that's going to bring the animal protection community together in a way that Toronto has never seen before. So I'm very excited about it. So however you can show your support and get involved with Wishbone, I highly recommend it. So I'm very much looking forward to the next time that I am in Toronto, because I definitely want to spend a lot of time there, because it is something that the animal protection community needs, and I'm very happy and grateful for Sue and others for making that possible.
I don't know how I'm going to get out of this room now. My head's swollen up like a pumpkin. Huh?
Well,
have to knock out those door jams. So the Wishbone Project, in summary, it's a one-stop shop to facilitate the activism of animal defenders and planet protectors, where we've said before, veganism is the default, not the option, and where wishes get activated. It will raise awareness and sensitize the public to the plight of non-human animals and the natural world, and provide them the solution to alleviate animal suffering, tackle climate change, avoid zoonotic disease outbreaks, etc. We are networking, supporting, and activating the vegan and animal rights communities, excuse me, getting the V word out to the masses in a creative but unapologetic way, and encouraging pre-vegans to open their eyes, minds, and hearts and set aside their speciesist ways. Because each of us is uniquely wired and different things resonate with different people, there is no one size fits all message or way of delivering that message that will click with everyone. So that's why it's imperative that animal activists increase our numbers and dedicate ourselves to strengthening the animal rights movement, disseminate as varied content as possible, and take a multifaceted approach. So this might sound a bit familiar to you, Ray. I plagiarized something of yours, but part of it. So it started with a wish, the kind you make on a shooting star or over birthday candles, and it ends in action. Whether you call it activism or advocacy for animals, it happens here at 600 Bay Street in Toronto. And magically, the same can happen anywhere else there's a place like Wishbone. Wishes are free, and so is our multi-purpose space to anyone who's convinced that better lives for animals is the key to a better world for all of us. Here are our contact details, and if I may be so bold, a link to our GoFundMe page. So we do have other ways of donating as well. Kelly's better at this
Yes.
than I am. I'm very awkward about it.
Yeah. So there's a link tree on our Instagram, and it has all the links to how you can support us financially if you're in a position to do so. We have like just direct deposit as well, and PayPal and Stripe if you want to do that. But we have a Go Buy Me a Coffee. We have coffee. Our Patreon will be coming up soon. And
You've been busy.
and we'll be selling merch as well. We're just like trying to find the best places,
Yeah. To help with our sustainability.
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So we'll have shirts and that for sale as well. So that's all in the very near future.
Yeah.
But our donation links are all on Linktree.
So if you would like to hear Vish's voicemail greeting, please feel free to give the lab a call, and that's the number there. And so I guess that ends the formal presentation. Thank you very much again for the opportunity to chat about Wishbone. It was a lot of information to absorb, so I'd love to answer any questions that anyone might have, although I see that we are running very close to our next presenters whom we will be helping set up. So you can feel free to ask Vish anything as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sue. That was a wonderful presentation and so thorough in all the areas that you cover for animal rights. And I live in Vancouver, so I'm going to have to get in touch with you on how to start an animal rights lab in the Vancouver area.
Great.
So thank you. And we do have one question, and then we will be going on to the Vegan Dungeons and Dragons game that we all get to participate in with Kelly Kerr and Ray and Aaron. And so Watch, go ahead with your question.
Oh, thank you so much. Great presentation, Sue and Kelly. Really a pleasure listening to you, and great work. And my question is, I know probably the laws are different in Canada versus US, but in United States, the FBI has deemed animal rights in the same category as terrorists. So I'm just wondering if you knew about that, or what's the stigma attached, not only with the word vegan, but also with the animal rights, and how you're going to scale it or have a similar model go across the border.
Well, yeah, I suppose Canada is a lot.
I mean, we've been really lucky in some ways with our activism and, sort of kind of getting off with slaps on the hands. But then they're actually trying to set an example of some of the our activists like Jenny McQueen and I'm not sure who else is in BC, all the names, but there's been, I mean,
the poor Greg 12. Malcolm Klimovich.
Malcolm. Yes. It's changing.
Well, I think the more before, I don't think they took us as seriously and didn't see us as much of a threat. But now, as veganism and animal rights is starting to gain some traction, the vested financial interests are certainly starting to sweat a little bit more, I think. And so
I think with the Anita's pig trial, which I'm sure everyone knows about, Anita was charged with, who's the co-founder of the same movement, giving water to a pig, and she was acquitted. That really put the eyes on us, and so
I think so, yeah. But I think I don't think we need to. We shouldn't back down, and we should have these start popping up everywhere around the planet. And that definitely will, as I said earlier, legitimize and normalize it. Just like anything, we're, as humans, we can get used to anything. We don't like to go against the grain. We're herd animals. We like to kind of fall back, just see how it goes and let somebody else stick their neck out first. But I think really we need to be brave, and the general public will just fall into line with us eventually. So, yeah, don't back down.
And I won't back down.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, that was a wonderful presentation. Thank you so
little
much.
Songbird, I had no idea.
I'm sure you're going to stick around for the Vegan Dungeons and Dragons too.
Yes, I'm going to be a player. That I've never played. I know nothing about Dungeons and Dragons, so this is going to be a great experience.
Can you hear me if I ask a question?
Sure. Hi.
Hi. Who is it that calls it a terrorist organization? Some of us missed that. Could you repeat that?
Oh, call us? No, I think just in general, people were the gentleman who asked the question before, saying that animal rights, that that activists are seen as terrorists. We're in that same category as a domestic terrorist. So yeah, hopefully.
Well, that's changing.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Thank you so much, Sue Spar. For those of you who came in late, that was Sue Spar, not Alec Bossy or Bossy or whatever the name is there.
We call him Bossy because he is bossy sometimes, but it's okay.
And you can find us on this presentation on Facebook later. And so we're going to turn it over now to